Hey guys, it's Willie from Willie's Restaurant in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Today we're going to be cooking jambalaya. We're going to be using Cajun salt and spicy Cajun. I'm looking forward to cooking for you guys. Let's do it. That's right, I said jambalaya. Take that, half of Louisiana.
We're looking for a diced vegetable today. Slice the spread. We're going to go through each thing as we go and show you to what level it needs to be cooked. Let's crank up the pot. Okay. We're going to add a little olive oil. It isn't necessary to be olive oil. It could be canola, vegetable, it could be avocado oil, whatever your preference is. We just want something to coat the bottom of the pan. Then we're going to let this warm up a tad bit. We're going to add our sausage and give it a good sear. Okay, we're going to add our sausage. We'll cook this about 3 minutes before we add our onions. You want your pan on medium-high heat. Anything you can scrape up will add to that flavor pretty good. Right here. Yeah, it's got a little bit of sear on it. Now we're ready to add our onions. Give this about 3 minutes. And the liquid from the onion should help get some of that fond off the bottom of the pan. These have softened, so we're going to add the rest of our Trinity plus a little jalapeno. We're going to do about 3 minutes of those, and then we'll add our poke. Don't forget the poke. If you don't have the poke, your food won't be as blessed. If you look close, the pan has basically been deglazed by the vegetables and the water content in those vegetables. And that's good. That's helped season your dish. At this point, we'll add our stick of butter before we add our poke. And we'll give it about 3 more minutes. There is a certain cooking lady on some of your other channels way back that used to put mayonnaise and everything. I'm not a mayonnaise guy, but I am a butter guy. Lots of butter and everything. If you're gonna spend hours of cooking, let's make it taste good. Okay, now we've got all our butter melted, our vegetables are softened a little bit. You can see they're still bright, so we don't wanna cook them till their color is gone. About 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and we're gonna add our garlic and do the same. And we're going to give that about 2 minutes before we move to the next ingredient. This is the time you want to turn on your smell-o-vision. Okay, so now we've got our cubed chicken. We've cut them in probably 1/2-inch cubes, and that way we can, it'll cook through in a few minutes. So jambalaya, if you have all your ingredients cut and laid out, this is a 30-minute meal. One pot, super easy. All you have to do is basically clean your cutting board, clean your knife, clean your pot. All right, so we want to get our chicken all looking as if it's cooked. We know that it isn't, but we want to get it all colored and seemingly looking cooked. See how this piece is beginning to look cooked? It's not quite, but we want to get all that colored in the right direction. So about 3 minutes is all it's going to take. Now we're going to add some tomatoes. This makes the dish more Creole than Cajun. That's okay because I call it jambalaya anyway, so they're gonna be mad at me regardless. All right, and then I add a little bit of that tomato sauce. This is some fire roasted diced tomatoes. Some recipes call for rotel, well, we pretty much make our own. I just used about half of that can of diced tomatoes. I don't want it to taste too Spanish. If you put more, it's gonna have more of a Latin flavor to it. So just be careful with that. That also makes it Creole. Spanish is a big influence in Louisiana cooking. All right. Now we're ready to add our stocks. Okay, so in an earlier video, you heard me say vegetable stock is super important, so we're gonna make sure we use all of the vegetable stock. And what we wanna remember too is how much liquid we have in here, because our rice is gonna call for 2-to-1 liquid. So this says that we have 32 ounces, so we would be able to put 16 ounces of rice in here. So what we're gonna do is add half the chicken stock. This is 4 cups, so we'll have 6 cups of liquid. That means we'll need 3 cups of rice. We're on medium-high heat still. We're gonna bring this up to a simmer, and then we'll season it, and then we'll add our rice. All right, now we're ready to add some kitchen bouquet. This is the secret recipe that you won't see on the internet. This is what people put in their pastellas and their jambalayas that gives it that brown color. Ultimately, it's a really heavy concentrate of vegetables. Okay, so we're gonna add about 2 tablespoons. You can't take this away, so you wanna start with a little, make sure it's the right flavor, and you can always add more. So just be careful, add a little bit at a time. 2 tablespoons is all we're gonna do. And then we can always come back later and add a touch more of that. Okay. Give it a stir. See how it's turning our liquid brown. That's gonna make that classic jambalaya look. Now we're gonna add our Cajun salt. And once again, we're gonna use our hand as our measuring tool for our tablespoon. So we're gonna do 3 tablespoons of Cajun salt. Stir this up. And you want to continue to stir until it gets to a simmer, just making sure that none of the tomatoes or vegetables stick to the bottom or sticking to the bottom, and all of it's incorporated together. One more thing that we want to do, we're going to use long grain enriched parboiled rice. This enriched rice has basically been, the starch has been washed off to some degree, and it allows it to stay individual pieces. And for this dish, that's what we want. So we're using this. Also, I already have measured out 3 cups. We're going to season. We started with 3 tablespoons of Cajun salt. We're going to add seasoning to finish the dish. This is just to get it a good starting point. So 3 tablespoons of Cajun salt in here. Once we get it finished, we'll adjust it as you like it. We also move to, in my case, spicy Cajun. Okay, so we're waiting on this to come up to a boil, our liquid. We're gonna taste it before we add our rice to make sure we're heading in the right direction. We are also going to make sure the flavor's in line. We're gonna add a little more seasoning, and we can always, at the end, add more. If it's not delicious, don't put your rice in there, but it is. Now that we're up to a simmer, we're going to dump in our parboiled rice. Okay. We'll stir probably every 5 minutes or so. So we're going to turn it down to low. Once it comes back up to a simmer, put the lid on it, and we'll do 15 minutes and give it a stir. Leave it just cracked to help with the spillover. We'll come back. All right, so now we're at the 15-minute mark of simmer. If we were going to leave to go to ball games or church or whatever, choir practice, we would turn it off, stir it, leave the lid on, and just come back to it. If you want to finish it up like we do now, we're going to lift, stir, give it a good stir. And then we'll put the lid back on it, turn it as low as we can, and give it another 10 minutes. But like I said, if we were going to ball games and we were going to be finished, for now, we would leave it off. The rice will continue to cook. So, but we're gonna give it a stir, make sure it's all mixed, make sure nothing was stuck to the bottom, which nothing is. We're gonna give it 10 more minutes. Leave it just barely cracked for steam to escape. All right, so now we're at about the 25-minute mark. This is when we're gonna take the lid off, give it a stir, taste, see if the rice is finished. It's possible we may need a couple more minutes. Every stovetop is different, but this is when we start to really fine tune the flavors, add the final seasonings, and go from there. All right. And if you see, unlike rice just cooking, we have a little bit more water. You may want to let that evaporate some. I like to leave it, so let's give it a stir and see if ultimately, nothing stick to the bottom, so we're good there. And we're gonna give it a taste and see if we need to add any seasonings at this point. And then we'll turn it off and we'll let it sit 10 more minutes off and we'll serve. Taste it without your meat because your sausage is gonna give a different flavor. You wanna taste the rice and make sure the rice is where you want it to be. I think so. I don't think it needs anything. All right, so let's turn it off, give it 10 more minutes. I'm ready to serve. Make sure you get some sausage and chicken in there. Eat your heart out, jambalaya people. All right, this is when you kick your hat up. Take your bowl, take a taste. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. It's delicious. Definitely worth it. Thanks for watching. Case spicy cake. You're gonna have to edit out every I'm sorry. So I can't stop saying so you'll just have to edit all the ums. This is so that you can Martha Stewart it. Or change this herb a little bit and Snoop Dogg it. That looks good though. That looks bomb.